There is a moment that changes the entire psychological dynamic of a relationship. It's quiet, it's subtle, and most men don't talk about it openly. It's the moment he realizes that your dignity is stronger than your love for him. Up until that point, attraction often lives in familiarity, in emotional availability, in reassurance, in the unspoken assumption that no matter what happens, you will stay emotionally open, accommodating, reachable. Many relationships unconsciously rest on this foundation, and then something shifts. You stop explaining yourself. You stop over-giving. You stop bending to preserve harmony, not because you don't care, but because you care about yourself more. From a Jungian perspective, this moment activates something deep in the masculine psyche. Carl Jung understood that attraction is not sustained by need, but by self-possession. When a woman's sense of self is anchored internally rather than relationally, she stops functioning as an emotional extension of the man's ego. And that is when his inner world reacts. At first, what he feels is confusion. The familiar emotional feedback loop is gone. The reassurance he unconsciously relied on has been replaced by calm boundaries. You are present, but no longer pliable. Loving, but not self-sacrificing. Open, but not available at the cost of your integrity. This is not rejection, but it feels like a loss of control. Jung would say that when projection collapses, awareness begins. A man often projects stability, nurturing, or emotional regulation onto a woman. When she withdraws that projection by standing firmly in her dignity, he is forced to confront his own inner instability. That confrontation can feel unsettling, and this is where the shift truly happens. Your dignity interrupts his unconscious assumptions. He can no longer take your emotional presence for granted. He begins to reassess value, not because you demanded it, but because your behavior quietly communicates self-worth. If this resonates, pause for a moment. Subscribe to Inner Wise Woman and write "love" in the comments. This space is for women who choose inner authority over emotional overextension. What many women misunderstand is this: dignity does not push love away. It filters it. When a man sees that your self-respect is non-negotiable, one of two psychological responses emerges. Either he rises into self-reflection, or he withdraws. Both outcomes are revealing. If he is emotionally immature, your dignity feels threatening. It exposes entitlement. It removes the comfort of imbalance. And rather than adapt, he may disengage. This is not because you are too much, but because you stop being convenient. If he is psychologically capable, something else happens. He slows down. He becomes more attentive, more careful, more self-aware, because for the first time, he senses that you are not anchored to him. And paradoxically, that makes your presence more significant. Jung emphasized that individuation, becoming a whole person, reshapes all relationships. When a woman individuates, she no longer seeks completion through attachment, and this activates respect in those who are able to meet her consciously. Your dignity signals something powerful. I am here by choice, not by need. And that sentence, though never spoken, is heard very clearly. Once the realization settles in, a man's inner dialogue begins to change. Not dramatically at first, quietly, internally. He starts asking questions he didn't need to ask before. Can I lose her? Did I misread her availability? Who is she when she's not orienting herself around me? From a Jungian lens, this is the moment when unconscious entitlement gives way to conscious evaluation. Before, your love may have been assumed. Now your presence is no longer guaranteed, and that activates a deeper layer of perception. When a man sees that your dignity is stronger than your attachment, he realizes something essential. You are not driven by fear of loss. You are driven by alignment. And that changes the power dynamic completely. This does not make you distant. It makes you defined. Your emotional boundaries communicate that love is something you offer, not something you trade for safety. Jung believed that true attraction is born when two whole individuals meet, not when one compensates for the other's lack. Dignity is the signal of wholeness. Internally, a man often experiences a mix of respect and uncertainty. Respect because your self-possession elevates you. Uncertainty because he can no longer predict you through emotional dependency. You are no longer responding from habit. You are responding from principle. This is why dignity slows a man down. He listens more carefully. He chooses his words with more intention. He senses that access to you now requires presence, not assumption. And here is the part many women misunderstand. Dignity does not manipulate. It reveals. If a man is capable of growth, your dignity invites him into deeper awareness. He begins to see you as someone with an inner axis, someone who cannot be owned emotionally, only met it. This often awakens a more mature form of attraction, one grounded in respect rather than control. If he is not capable, your dignity becomes a mirror he avoids. He may label you as cold, distant, or changed, but what he is reacting to is not your withdrawal. It is the end of unconscious access. Jung would say that relationships either evolve with individuation or dissolve because of it. And this is the quiet power of dignity. It does not chase outcomes. It clarifies them. You no longer negotiate your worth through emotional labor. You no longer prove your value through sacrifice. You no longer stay where your integrity must shrink to keep connection alive. This is where many women feel a deep internal shift. Love becomes calmer, more selective, less anxious. You are no longer asking, "Will he choose me?" You are asking, "Is this aligned with who I am?" And that question changes everything. If this perspective is helping you see your relationships differently, subscribe to Inner Wise Woman. This channel is for women who choose self-respect over emotional depletion and clarity over confusion. The paradox is this: when your dignity outweighs your attachment, love doesn't disappear. It becomes real. It no longer feeds on insecurity. It no longer survives on imbalance. It either deepens or it exits. And both outcomes are victories, because dignity ensures that whoever stays is not staying out of comfort, but out of recognition. You are no longer loved for what you give up. You are loved for who you are. And that is the only kind of love worth keeping.